everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today we're going to talk about this thing that guys do, and only guys do it. So I'm not going to be like, and sometimes women do it, because I've never seen a woman do it, but maybe if they're the lower libido partner. So as always, don't take my word for the way that your gender norm should go. If you're the woman that's the higher libido partner, then just make yourself the dude in all my podcasts. Whatever, be flexible. And we'll talk about when guys try to make their vacation sex or their ovulation sex into their usual sex. And before that, I must tell you to subscribe. My most recent subscriber episode.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place. For changes big and small. Loud or quiet. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
I don't remember, man. I mean, there's a lot of good ones. The one that most recently came out while I'm recording this one, which is not the most recent one, in reality, was the subscriber episode with the pep talk for the new year, and that is worth the price of admission, and I got a lot of positive feedback on that one. So, you know, the subscriber link is always in the episode description, so go for it. And so anyway, in my secret group, and the link for my Facebook secret group that I'm always talking about is also in all my episode descriptions. So you should join that. It's cheaper than the subscription for the podcast. It's only $4.99 a month. In that, people were talking about how they thought it was unusual, men, the preoccupied attachment male partner, which we have many in that group, thought it was like unusual that his wife is only really into sex a couple times a month. Well, it's not. It's not unusual. Like, if she's really into sex at all, awesome. She's only supposed to be really into sex when there's something different going on, right? I mean, you're not going to be really into dinner every night the way that you're into, like, dinner at an awesome restaurant, a fancy date night, exciting, a party, you know, something where there's something going on, you know? How could anything be special if everything's supposed to be special? And this is really the plight of the preoccupied attachment or fearful avoidant person, is that their childhood, we'll just go straight into childhood in this one, no beating around the bush. If your childhood was unfulfilling, if you felt that you never got the care and the attention and the attentiveness and the attunement that you needed as a child, then instinctively and subconsciously you look to adulthood to be basically the compensation for that in perpetuity. And that's not going to work because of the hedonic treadmill and habituation and all of these things that mean, and the honeymoon stage ending, and all these things that mean that you get used to shit. You get used to shit. And the same sex that you have all the time is the sex that you have all the time. And she's not going to be as into that as she is on vacation sex or ovulation sex. Vacation sex, there's this external variable that makes it special. And ovulation sex, there's an internal variable that makes it special, her hormones. And honeymoon stage sex, there's also internal variables that make it special, or sometimes hysterical bonding. Like if there's been like makeup sex is a little form of hysterical bonding. The worst possible thing to do, though, is start a bunch of fights. So then you have makeup sex, because after about the second time of that, any woman who respects herself is going to say, why am I in this relationship when we're fighting all the time? Right? So there is a natural human push-pull between wanting security and enjoying excitement/novelty. And the security part, if you've chosen to raise children, if not, act fucking crazy. I don't care, you know? I mean, it's not good for you, but at least you're not harming anybody else. But if you want to have some crazy, tempestuous, insane relationship where you're always fighting, and it's like something out of that Jersey Shore show from 20 years ago, everybody's yelling at each other all the time, then go for it. But that's not most of the people who are listening to Dr. Psych Mom, right? You have children if you're listening to me. And so you cannot afford to make your house into an insane asylum. And so therefore, you really have to keep things stable. And that is going to be a source of joy, deep joy and fulfillment if you can raise a happy family with children that do not think that adults are crazy or dysfunctional or unsafe. And so you can't fight all the time, just you can make up all the time. By the way, if you fight all the time, you don't, by the way, have make-up sex all the time either, because what did I just teach you, which you should know already from listening to other episodes, but then that would become the norm. If you fight every day, you're not having make-up sex every night, that just becomes your norm, and then you're just two difficult people, you know? Unless you're young, and then there's a main effect of wanting sex all the time. So the actual people on Jersey Shore who were like 20 years old were certainly having sex or wanting to have sex constantly because they were 20-year-old mammals in their full breeding prime, you know? And that's that. So why do you try to recreate this compulsively? Because as I just said, you are trying to use your attachment figure now in adulthood as a surrogate for the attachment figure that did not give you enough consistent, loving attention as a child. So basically, if you did not feel like you were ever in charge of getting your parent to pay attention to you, and they just did it kind of willy-nilly at their own behest on their own schedule, then you felt out of control. You felt that there was an attachment figure who could give love, but it was never when you could predict it. If you came over for affection or comfort, it was not always given. That's how you make preoccupied attachment, and you should go back to my subscriber episode on the attachment styles overview if you don't understand this stuff. I have a lot of stuff on attachment in general. But point being is now you're trying to make it so that your attachment figure responds the same all the time. And she's never going to do that, right? And now it's the same thing, not with sex, but for romance. Like there's some women that are preoccupied attachment. By the way, there's more women who are preoccupied attachment, as I've told you, than men who are. Even though if you're a man who's preoccupied attachment, the places that you go on the internet make you think that there's more preoccupied attachment men, which there aren't. There's more emotionally avoidant men. You may have heard that. That's true. You know, the emotionally unavailable man is not just a trope. That is more common than the emotionally unavailable woman. And I talk about this a lot. Go to my Avoidant Wives podcast, my Preoccupied Attachment Husband podcast, etc. But anywho, so women do this sometimes with romance. Well, if he took me out for a nice date night last month, he's not been romantic since then. Well, your life is not supposed to be unicorns dancing through a meadow, you know, with wreaths of flowers around their necks. That's just not what life is. If you're going on a romantic date and he's being romantic once a month, now, of course, he should be nice to you all the time. But if you're looking for him staring in your eyes and telling you how beautiful you are and how, like, he's so glad to be married to you and this and that, more than, you know, really, like, that's a money shot. That is like a monthly kind of thing. Now, he should say, I love you every day, 100%. And when you come down the stairs, and I coach men to do this shit, and it really transforms their marriages, he should say, you look beautiful every single day. For you and also for your children to see that that's what a loving marriage is, right? And if you're with a man who will not say I love you every day and will not say or think that you look beautiful every day, that's a problem. And you should be in couples counseling because there are loving men in the world. But if you are looking for him to plan a special romantic thing where he talks to you different and he acts basically like he's going to propose, and you're looking for that shit to happen more than, you know, max once a month, you know, that not max. What am I trying to say? Once a month would be good, you know, a few times a year would be really good, you know, for some huge thing like your birthday, the anniversary, Valentine's Day, whatever, you know, but like some big romantic gesture is not going to happen all the time. And it's the same with ovulation/vacation sex. Now, ovulation sex is going to happen once a month, but you know what? And this really makes avoiding preoccupied attachment guys insane. She may get sick Or your kid may get sick, or she may have work travel, or you may have work travel. Or that night might be the night that she gets into a fight with her mom or something, or with your teenage daughter, or whatever. There's always mother-daughter issues, as you could see from the two most common examples I pulled from. And so then she won't be having ovulation sex. So then it turns into every other month or what have you. Now, should she be having regular sex outside of that? Of course. But this is for the guys that say, why isn't she as into it? Why isn't she as into it? Because her hormones are not the same throughout the month, and it wouldn't be special. She's not going to be into it every day unless she's in the honeymoon stage, as I've discussed. That is a biological, discrete stage where her body is trying to connect to and breed with a new man. It's all excited about this new genetic material. And you can't be new genetic material when you're not new genetic material. When she ovulates, when you take her on vacation, after you do one of those big romantic gestures I just told you to do. Now, by the way, if you're the preoccupied attachment guy, you're probably like, oh my God, child's play, doing that once a month. I try to wrangle her onto the couch and stare into her eyes and tell her how beautiful she is easily 3 times a day. And bizarrely, Dr. Psych Mom, you must be wrong because it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Why doesn't it work? What did I just teach you? She's not the preoccupied attachment partner. You are. So every time you see her now, she's going to get scared. She's going to be like, this motherfucker's trying to get me onto the couch and tell me how much he loves me. Holy Christ, I have so much to do. What is this bullshit? Doesn't he realize how much of a turnoff this is, right? So then you want to not do anything that makes your wife look at you like she's scared of you, right? So that's like a really good rule of thumb. And if you are honest with yourself and you do a deep dive, when you say romantic things, does it terrify your wife? Then you're the preoccupied attachment partner. She's the avoidant partner, and you need to stop, right? She probably wants sex that feels more like good old fashioned fucking and not any sort of romantic thing because she's not a romantic person. And this is like the men that I'm like, act like you don't care, right? Don't over-respond when she touches you. And I have a whole podcast, Don't Over-Respond When She Touches You, and you should listen to that one. I think that one's subscriber too. But I don't know. And point being is that's not game playing. That's reading the room. That's like how, you have different children, and so you respond differently to that. Some of them like to talk about feelings. Some of them don't. So it's not game playing not to talk about feelings with your child who doesn't like to talk about feelings. That's not game playing. That's called being the attentive parent that likely you did not have. So your wife doesn't like to talk about feelings. So stop talking about feelings so much, right? And then she may come forward and talk about feelings some more. And ironically, when you talk about feelings less, you're going to end up getting more of your other needs met. Because if she really hates talking about feelings, then it's a huge turnoff to her. And half of the reason you're not having sex is because you talk about feelings during it or before it or after it. And she hates it. So she tries literally not to have sex with you that she might enjoy because you're always roping all this other shit into it that she doesn't like. And that's the God's honest truth, and and then some people are like, but I like to talk about feelings. Well, she doesn't. So philosophically then, we would want to get to a compromise place. So your compromise place can either be that you talk about feelings all the time and she doesn't have sex with you, which may be where you're at. Or you never talk about feelings, or rarely, and she has sex with you, which shows that she loves you, which is what you really want because it's a proxy variable, and then you do better. And in reality, life is not black or white, so if you work on the preoccupied attachment obsession with talking about feelings, this is for women too, by the way. If you're the preoccupied partner and you work on this obsessive perseveration about talking about feelings, which is no healthier, by the way, than not talking about feelings, and you work on it in therapy and you think about why you do it and you see it as kind of a form of stimming and OCD, which it really is, then you can be in a more securely attached marriage because you will not be trying to control your partner and control what they like and control what they don't like and make them into a robot that responds the same all the time, irrespective of things like novelty and habituation. All right, that is your pep talk for today, fam. Do you like that? Fam, my daughter says that. I hate it, but whatever. You got to move with the times. All right, so I hope that all of you, oh, by the way, and I should just always say this, If you are struggling, it is a new year. We have lots of therapists and coaches available at Best Life Behavioral Health at my practice. And the coaches can work in all states. Therapists can work in the states they're licensed in, but you can always reach out. Info at bestlifebehavioralhealth.com. And you can always also buy Heather's workshops and videos on oral sex. Bye, fam.